Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball, the 2014 home opener from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. It's the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals. And welcome to Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. That's Rick Horton. My name is Dan McLaughlin. This place, boy, they do it right, don't they?
I love opening day here, Dan. There's always special moments here on opening day, poignant moments, really. One of my favorite moments here that we just saw was Lance Lynn taking his hat off as he shook the hands of each one of the Hall of Famers. I think it's a great example of how these young players get to be in touch with some of the history of being a St. Louis Cardinal.
Now for the baseball, it's getting into a routine. The Cardinals have not been hitting all that well in that first road trip. Tough to get in a normal routine, especially today.
Well, it's definitely not normal today. It will be tomorrow. But the Cardinal bats have been silent. But you know what? They've pitched really well. And the guy pitching today, Michael Wacha, was terrific in his first start against the Cincinnati Reds. Of course, their guy was good as well. So we've seen good pitching in the early going, but we know this Cardinal lineup's going to hit.
How about the weather? How does that affect Michael Wacha and also this lineup today?
Well, both these guys are actually warming up in the rain, which is unusual. But I think opening day, the excitement of this, I mean, there's all kinds of excitement in this ballpark right now. I think they're not really worried about whether it's raining, cold, what the weather might be. Michael Wacha will be ready.
To me, it's pretty amazing. He is 22 years of age, already the NLCS MVP from a year ago, and it's like we gloss over the fact that he's making a home opening start. It's a big, big deal, and yet with Michael Wacha, so what?
Well, honestly, you normally wouldn't do that. You normally wouldn't have your young guy. Of course, the Cardinals have a lot of them. You wouldn't have your young guy start the home opener, but you probably wouldn't have him start 4 big games in October either under normal circumstances. Michael Wacha is not normal.
How about the bats? How do they get things going starting today?
Well, I think we need to see some production in the middle of the lineup, particularly Alan Craig, Yadier Molina, Matt Holliday. Really, the middle of the lineup is 0 for the last 40 combined, but that's not going to stay that way. We've run into some rough pitching, and certainly the routine hasn't been there, but these guys, as I mentioned, are going to hit eventually.
As we saw last week, the Cincinnati Reds, they are a team that has been banged up. They get Devin Mesoraco off the DL today, but he is coming off the bench, and there's a live look at Ballpark Village. And you know those fans are getting set for some excitement here today, but the Reds, a team that is banged up, but yet they're trying to weather that storm.
Well, the guy that's really interesting to me is their leadoff hitter, Billy Hamilton, who did not get on base one time in Cincinnati, but he is maybe the most exciting player in all of baseball right now. So it'll be a key for the Cardinals in this series to keep him off of first base. That's the way you control the Reds lineup. Of course, in the middle of the lineup, they've got Votto and Bruce, two of the National League's best.
Well, we wish he was still in uniform. He has been now officially retired. Chris Carpenter with our ceremonial first pitch. And it looks like Mike Matheny will catch him.
For the Cardinals on opening day. Much of the past 10 seasons he spent in uniform. Please welcome postseason hero and Cy Young Award winner number 29, Chris Carpenter. Chris is joined by his 2 children, Sam and Ava. Catching Chris is his old battery mate, his former catcher, manager, and friend, Mike Matheny. Well done, Chris. Thank you, Mike. Play ball.
Welcome back, my friends.
Son Sam, daughter Ava, Chris Carpenter, Mike Matheny. It's opening day. Michael Wacha with our first pitch in our starting lineups when we come back. by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly. It's Chevy Truck Month. Visit your Mid-America Chevy dealers to take advantage of Truck Month offers on the all-new Chevy Silverado. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Umpires on the scene, and Mike Matheny has his lineup ready to roll. C.B. Buckner is behind home plate. Trip Gibson at first. The crew chief is Dale Scott at second. Dan Iasonia down at third. Umpires will play a big role in this game today, not just balls, strikes, outs, safe, but also with the weather.
No question about that. And of course, for fans that have not seen a lot of games yet this year, we have the new instant replay in effect and the collision play at home plate. The home plate umpire, as we mentioned, C.B. Buckner. The Cardinals saw him all spring training, Dan. Seemed like every game we saw, he was involved in it. And I would say it's gone pretty well here in the early going.
1 week of baseball, no ejections, by the way. Not one in baseball. This time last year, there were 82 player ejections, 98 manager or coaches ejections. So replay has helped in that aspect of the ball game. They're having some issues with the batter's eye, which they need the black of the backdrop. So little issue there here on opening day. They'll get that fixed and we'll be ready to go.
The rain is still falling here at Busch Stadium lightly, and you know the field really does a good job of kind of draining. It's really miraculous how that works, and Bill Finley's crew is hard at work. The field looks great. I mean, the grass is so green here, and it's just wonderful to be here at Busch Stadium again. I got to say, too, part of the opening day ceremonies for me is a little bittersweet because at least at some point I can't help thinking about some of our people that we've lost. I think of Stan Musial and Bob Forsch and Darrell Porter and so many others that really a part of Cardinal Nation, a part of the history of being a St. Louis Cardinal. And days like this where you're really celebrating the organization, Dan, from top to bottom, and from years gone past, you think of some of those guys and what they've meant to this team.
Cardinal players, again, creatures of habit, as Al was talking about on the pregame show. How you get into a routine and still no routine that has been normally like the middle of July. So you're getting ready for opening day, and the guys just taking to the field right now to stretch, run, get loose.
And Al brought up some really good points about the personal lives of these players, not just the professional life of what they do when they get here, when they hit, but some of these Cardinal players were not Cardinals ever before, and they are looking for a place to live. They're trying to figure out how to get to the ballpark. I mean, simple things like that. You know, they've not been here yet. They started out on the road, a very long spring training. They haven't been St. Louisans before, so they are kind of getting used to really kind of the personal life here as well and their personal routines.
The tarp was taken off the field about an hour ago. So this field has been getting an awful lot of rain on the infield. That's where you really get concerned, not so much with the outfield. And as you talked about, it drains incredibly well here at Busch Stadium. However, the infield could be an issue here today.
Yeah, Dan, it does look wet here from our vantage point, and of course going through the entire ceremony before the game, really light rain throughout, and you know they wanted to be able to have the tarp off, and certainly was adding to the enjoyment of the opening day festivities to be able to kind of just go with it. And the fans, I think, were loving it here at Busch Stadium, but certainly there are some wet spots that we're going to have to watch as the game continues.
That's from the AT&T porch, and those seats, the look inside the ballpark. And you know, Ballpark Village is electric. You and I were over there about 3 hours ago.
Was that fun or what?
That was awesome.
Well, it was a big party, Dan. I hated to leave it.
And here we are, big party inside the ballpark. So Mike Owaka making the start today, the home opener of 2014, and this is a look at the lineup that he'll face. Brian Price's club, led by the switch hitting Billy Hamilton, then Brandon Phillips, Joey Votto, Jay Bruce, Ryan Ludwig. Third consecutive year that Todd Frazier's gotten off to a terrific start. He was 5 for 11 against the Cardinals in Cincy. Then Zach Cozart, Brian Pena, switch hitting catcher, and the pitcher batting ninth, Tony Cingrani. Michael Wacha, our Kia starter, very good his first time out.
He was outstanding. Same matchup, he and Tony Cingrani. Michael Wacha this year trying to incorporate more of his secondary pitches. A year ago, really a two-pitch pitcher. That's kind of all he needed. Fastball, changeup. Has a dominating changeup. Mike Matheny and Derek Lilliquist say it actually almost acts like a left-hander slider. It moves down and away from left-handed batters, and there'll be 5 of them in the lineup here today for the Cincinnati Reds. But Wacha really got about 5 years of experience last year in October.
The defense behind him. Around the Horn, brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Holiday, Borges, and Craig in the outfield. We'll highlight the man behind the plate, Yadier Molina, 6-time Gold Glover. And it's Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, and Adams along the infield. Billy Hamilton is 0 for 12 to start this season. The Cardinals were really nasty on him, especially in opening day with Adam Wainwright. He struck out 4 times. He's hitless in 12 at-bats with 6 Ks.
Certainly not the only one that can't hit Adam Wainwright's curveball, but he would really look bad against Wainwright.
And the first pitch is taken for a strike, and we're underway here at Busch Stadium in 2014. Michael Wacha, one of the fastest workers in baseball. And
Matt
going
Carpenter,
with the short sleeves.
And Matt Carpenter, by the way, Dan, was creeping in, and he was very close to Billy Hamilton, and he was still looking to bunt. That's how fast he is.
1-1 is tapped foul. Last time these fans saw Michael Wacha in person here at Busch Stadium, postseason play, en route to the NLCS MVP. Here's a 1-2. That caught Yadi, who is down on a knee. He says he's all right.
It's a changeup from Wacha, and it looks like it fouled off the right knee, perhaps, or the outside of the leg of Yadier Molina. And Tellett caught him pretty good, but he is one tough hombre.
One ball and 2 strikes on Billy Hamilton. The changeup in the dirt. Have to say that the breaking ball of Wacha is still a work in progress, but it is much improved.
He used it some in Cincinnati, used it a lot in spring training.
There's a base hit into right field for Billy Hamilton, his first. And Hamilton is thinking too, and why not? Look at him fly. My goodness. Routine base hit into right. He turns it into a double.
That's the excitement we were talking about with Billy Hamilton. He got a fastball up in the zone, and as he rounded first base, he thought he had a chance to make 2, and he got there very easily. He's going to mess up his stolen base totals if he keeps doing that.
That's the Hyundai replay of Hamilton going into second base, and by the way, he loves to steal third as well.
Exactly. As did Lou Brock. So good to see him today.
This is where Hamilton can really mess up a defense as Phillips hits down the sacrifice, and Hamilton advancing to third. Interesting that the Reds are saying let's get the lead early right now with one of their top RBI men at the plate.
But I'm not a fan of giving up a out with Brandon Phillips and Billy Hamilton at second base. You could really almost have Billy Hamilton steal third. So you're basically just giving the Cardinals an out. As far as I'm concerned, we'll take it. But they do have 2 very good hitters to follow.
Infield is in for Joey Votto. Was 5 for 11 in the series in Cincinnati. And takes a pitch high. Still looking for his first home run. He does have 1 RBI. Reds are coming off a series in which they dropped 2 of 3 against the Mets.
Dan, you and I were talking about a pitch that Votto hit in Cincinnati that was off the plate in, and he lined it into center field. His ability to keep his hands inside the ball is just amazing, and he hit the ball hard. He didn't get jammed. Somehow a ball really right in on his chest. He still lined it up the middle.
The 2-0 is grounded foul. Did not have the Clydesdales today because of the wet conditions, although the cars were able to make their way onto the track, and you can see out there The track is beat up just a bit. The 2-1 hit out of play. Evens it up at 2-2.
Yachty continuing to communicate with his young pitchers. That's a pitch that may have gotten a little bit more of the plate than he thought, and Yachty's like having an extra pitching coach on the field.
The 2-2. Just a bit low. Here's a 3-2 pitch. Ground ball and a play at the plate. They've got the runner hung up between third and home. Wong puts Hamilton in a rundown. You talk about a hot box. This guy could stay in it all day. They'll tag him out. Done to perfection. And Votto at second. And a big out early on.
I had that same feeling. How many throws is this going to take to get Billy Hamilton? Remember in the backyard doing this? You may call it hot box, you may call it pickle, depending upon what part of the country you're from. But Billy Hamilton gets himself in one, and well, you better be fast. You have to run at him. That's the best thing to do. Get him to run in the direction of where you're throwing the baseball. But Hamilton does the right thing. He draws the throw and then stays in it long enough to allow Votto to get into scoring position.
And that pitch is taken inside to Jay Bruce. That was 4-5 to 2-4. Colton Wong backing up in the outfield grass for Jay Bruce. What a monster home run against St. Louis. He has 2 on the year. 2 balls and no strikes. And Ryan Ludwig is on deck.
Wong made a nice play on that, but really it starts with Michael Wacha making a pitch on Votto.
2-1. Outfield is straight away and deep as the rain continues to fall here at Busch Stadium. Our understanding is we will have a break in that. That's why they decided to start this game on time. The 2-1 misses in. Well, at this point, Rick, are you comfortable in saying let's get Bruce out of the way? First base is open, and we think we can pitch to Ryan Ludwig.
I think be careful with him, but Bruce 0 for 8 in his career to this point against Wacha.
Count runs full.
And Wacha's not a guy that likes to walk hitters either. He is a strike thrower. Very good poise for a 22-year-old pitcher.
Runner at second, 2 down, and the 3-2 is pulled foul. Wacha has had success not only against Jay Bruce, but Phillips 0 for 8 and Todd Frazier 0 for 5. Frazier is arguably swinging the hottest bat in this lineup. A cool afternoon here at Busch Stadium. Rain is falling. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Leadoff double by Hamilton, caught in the rundown. And then the strikeout of Jay Bruce. And the Cardinals coming up for the first time here at Busch Stadium. It's Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest.
by inducing a ground ball to the Cardinal rookie second baseman Colton Wong, who does the right thing. They finally get out Billy Hamilton, but then it's Waka himself that takes care of business, the high hard one. And you think it's hard to catch a guy like Michael Waka? Just look at the velocity and the give on the glove of Yadier Molina, catching that ball up in the zone.
What
nice
a great
piece
look
of work.
that is.
It's outstanding.
Get that donut off that bat, Matt Carpenter. Now he's ready. What a year he had a season ago. And a home run in Pittsburgh over the weekend. A .286 average thus far. And a couple of RBIs. This guy's tough. Tony Cingrani.
Very tough, and he's really basically a one-pitch pitcher. He's got a curveball and a changeup, but he's really much more of a fastball pitcher than anything else, and he's got a good one. Mid-90s, and he'll throw it up in the zone and has a little bit of an awkward delivery, and the Cardinals are having a hard time picking up that fastball that he actually wraps behind his back, Dan, so it's very hard to pick him up.
I thought over the weekend we saw Matt Carpenter have some of his best at-bats of that road trip.
Agreed.
Cardinals collectively hit 186 on the trip. He shoots it foul out of play, 0-2. Can you imagine how big my forehead looks over at Ballpark Village on that screen? It's got to be just huge. My goodness. There's not enough makeup in town to put on this forehead.
Hadn't thought about that, actually.
Jeez. Here's the 0-2.
That is a festive sight, is it not?
Oh, it was great. We were over there, and the Hall of Famers had the first tour of the Hall of Fame and Museum. A live look at Ballpark Village.
All your best friends, Dan. Hello, everybody.
Here's a 1-2. We saw Bill DeWitt, Cardinals president Bill DeWitt, and he was like a kid in a candy store. He said it was so neat for him to be able to take the Hall of Famers through the museum, and he said the Hall of Famers then afterwards said, hey, by the way, I got a really neat piece you might want, a ball or shoes from a particular famous night. And for these current players, the chance to talk to the Hall of Famers before they get introduced and shake hands for everybody to see, but they're down in the clubhouse visiting with Lou Brock and Red Shandy's daily. It's just such a unique experience here as opposed to other places. The 2-2. Carpenter, base hit into left. Past the diving Todd Frazier. A look at the Cardinals lineup here on opening day. The home opener, Carpenter, Borges, who is hitless, then Holiday, Craig, Molina, Adams, Peralta, Wong, and Michael Waka. Matt Carpenter in a single season, the all-time hits leader here at this ballpark.
Dan, I mentioned the Cardinals 2 through 6 in the lineup are 0 for their last 40 collectively. And we're really looking forward to seeing that first hit from Peter Borges. He's shown that he likes to bunt. The Reds taking that away with Frazier in on the grass.
Showing bunt, pulls back and takes a ball. So both teams with their second place hitter showing bunt. Sacrifice by Phillips after the double by Hamilton in the top of the first.
I always thought it made some sense to bunt a little bit more on a rainy day too, because you never know what a fielder's going to do with it. You pick up the ball wrong and it slips out of your hands, you throw one in the right field, and you've got a problem. So at times that could force the action.
Final opening day at Yankee Stadium for Derek Jeter as the Yankees won 4-2. That's the lone final this far.
Cingrani has a good move too, so be careful, Carpenter.
A lot of the Cardinals after the game that we saw in Cincinnati that Cingrani started were complaining because they felt it was a balk. Remember, he picked off Matt Adams in that game.
I don't want to get kicked out of the left-hander's tricky move to first club, but I thought he was pretty close as well.
You had a nasty move when you were playing in Major League Baseball, and Cingrani is right on that line as to whether or not he has to come home or is allowed to go to first.
There's a number of things you can't do. The first thing is you can't break the plane. You can't pick up your right leg and bring it beyond the rubber extended to first base. That's number one.
The 2-1, a little broken bat in his center, and it drops in for Peter Borges, his first Cardinal hit. Now he can relax. Big smile for Peter.
Nice to see.
A look at the defense with Ludwig, Hamilton, and Bruce in the outfield. Dobbs Tire Auto Centers around the horn. Frazier, Cozart, Phillips, a 4-time Gold Glove winner. Votto has won a Gold Glove. He's at first, and Brian Pena is behind the plate. It's not a bad seat. Here is Holiday. He's hitting .208, no home runs, 2 RBIs. Boy, it'd be big for the Cardinals to strike first and get something going offensively. The check swing, and he went.
Good speed on the base pass for the Cardinals, and Carpenter and especially Borges at first. The outfield arms for the Cincinnati Reds, very good arm in center, and Hamilton, and Jay Bruce has a cannon in right. Ryan Ludwig, the left fielder, has an accurate arm. He'll throw out a lot of runners trying to take extra bases on him because of his accuracy. He doesn't not quite have the arm strength as the other two, but they're playing deep for Matt Holliday here. And again, you could expect that ball to slosh around a little bit, especially in the outfield.
Cingrani is trying to get on the same page as Pena. He'll throw the 4-seamer about 80% of the time. Has that extra giddy up with the fastball. Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike, and that's where a lot of the opposing pitchers have been going after Matt Holliday, inside. But that's nothing new, is it?
No, and it's okay to go in. You just better get it in. Don't make a mistake.
Runners at first and second. Back-to-back hits for the Cardinals. And the 1-1.
Interesting about hitting. If you hit the ball on the inside corner, or maybe moving in even off the plate, that's a lot of jam shots, ground balls, pop-ups. If you throw the ball middle in, that's where every hitter says they want it, middle in. If you're throwing batting practice and you want a guy to have a good feel, throw it middle in, and they'll crush that ball. So, again, if you're going to go in on Holliday, don't make a mistake and have it come back over the plate.
The 2-1 to Matt Holliday. 3-1 with Craig on deck.
Dan, it's really Cingrani's next level of development is to have a good enough off-speed pitch where Matt Holliday could at least be thinking changeup or curveball right now. But I can promise you he's thinking and looking for a fastball. 3-1.
Has to be. See Cingrani a couple of times already here in the first inning. Has had issues with his footing on the mound. Now he's set, and here's a 3-1 to Holliday. Inside, bases loaded here in the first inning.
Most of the time in Cingrani's career, he's had things working exactly the way he wants. He's a very, very talented young pitcher. Pitching coach Jeff Pico in his first year with Cincinnati will try to settle him down. But the problem, Dan, is if you're a one-pitch pitcher and that one's not working, or if you're starting to lose a little confidence in it, what's plan B? You look at somebody like Adam Wainwright, he has a plan B and a C and a D and an E just in case.
Jeff Pico, the pitching coach, was added in December to the staff for the Reds, and Brian Price, the former pitching coach. Inning started with a single to left for Carpenter. And then it was Borges, a broken bat, single to center, walk to Holliday, And here is Alan Craig, who's hitting .091. A lot of ground balls for Craig. Let's see him drive one. Outfield deep straight away. First pitch to him. And that's taken for a ball. With runners in scoring position, the Cardinals are hitting just .143 in the first week, after setting the all-time record of .330 last year. Two and 0. Michael Wacha was able to get out of an early jam, and Cingrani can feel the heat right now. Bases loaded, nobody out, and he falls behind on a guy that has hit over .450 the last 2 years with runners in scoring position.
He tried the changeup on 1-0 there. No luck. Have to be looking fastball here.
The 2-0. Ooh, good rip by Craig. The career numbers in this spot for Alan Craig, who had a memorable grand slam against the Cincinnati Reds late in the season here at Busch Stadium, as he hit it opposite way.
Really bunching him in the outfield, taking the gaps away.
The 2-1. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Craig. That's twice he's fouled off pitches, and you can see he's just a little bit frustrated because he knows he's potentially slightly off.
Well, we talk about it all the time, but hitting is timing and pitching is throwing off timing, and Alan Craig's timing is just a little bit late right now. He's feeling for the swings, especially when he gets 2 strikes. It's kind of a field swing. He's not really letting it go, and he's just a tad late, but that will come.
The 2-2 inside to Craig. These fans will come alive. The home opener. Bases loaded, nobody out. 3-2 pitch to Craig. Struck him out. May have chased the ball. Let's see in the Missouri Lottery Fox tracks.
A little over anxious here is Alan Craig. That pitch down in the zone and really never was a strike. Started out below the knees and kind of rode in on him. Alan Craig does hit the ball down well, and perhaps a pitch that he thought he could handle and drive in more than just one, but certainly would have been ball 4.
This season already 1 for 2 at the bases loaded is Yadier Molina. First pitch to Yadi. And the Cardinals, in his young career, Tony Cingrani has held them to a .194 average. He pitches with a little flair, too.
We saw a little energy from him, didn't we, in Cincinnati?
We sure did. 0-2 on Yadier Molina.
A little animated after a big strikeout or a big play. And really, the Reds played that way in general against St. Louis at Great American Ballpark. They seemed to be really amped up for that series, and so was their crowd.
This could be a very key at bat in this game, to have a young pitcher on the ropes first inning, gets a strikeout of Craig. We'll see what happens here with Yadier Molina. The chance of Yadi here at the ballpark. Last year, Cingrani, with runners in scoring position, he was so tough. His average against him in this spot. 1-0-8. The 1-2. Molina drives it out to left field. Ludwig back over his head. 2 runs will score. Here comes Holiday. They'll wave him in. Relay to the plate. Yachty delivers with 3 here in the first.
Key at bat, you say, against a young pitcher on opening day? I'll say it was.
Now it's Adams. Outfield straight away and deep, and the pitch is taken for a ball. It's the kind of at bat that can unnerve Tony Cingrani. And if Cingrani wins it, it's the kind that gets him back locked in.
Agreed.
There's a good off-speed pitch there.
Interesting. Yachty was very late on the first couple of fastballs from Cingrani, as if he wasn't seeing the ball at all. And then he gets one middle in, and he just hammers it over Ludwig's head.
It's now 5 driven in this young season for Yadier Molina as Adams taps it foul. I thought the best breaking ball Cingrani threw was against Matt Adams with runners on midway through that game. Real key spot, and he froze Adams. Other than that, it's pretty much fastball after fastball.
And a couple of curveballs he tried just spun out of his hand until he was not in command of that pitch.
The 1-2. The pitch count already at 29 here in the first inning. We've talked about the issues the Reds have in their bullpen. No Chapman, no Broxton, no Marshall. Adams strikes out. Let's take you back to the Molina at bat and this RBI double to drive in 3.
Again, he'd been late on the fastball, but he just jumps on this pitch. And the opening day crowd, what's the reaction? How about the Ballpark Village reaction?
Peralta skies one right field. Jay Bruce makes the catch. Yadier Molina with the bases loaded, an RBI double that drives in 3. St. Louis on top in the home opener. 3 hits in the first inning of a Tony Cingrani, highlighted by the bases-loaded double from Yadier Molina. And Michael Wacha pitching out of a jam in the top of the first. That doesn't happen very often. Tony Cingrani has never allowed more than 5 hits in any of his 19 career starts, which is a Major League Baseball record. Threw a lot of pitches, 30 in that first inning of play. One of the loudest ovations for anybody here today was for the man at the plate, Ryan Ludwig. And Ludwig pulls it foul. Brandon Phillips also got one of the loudest responses. However, not in the positive fashion. A lot of boos. Ludwig is off to a good start with a home run, pair of RBIs. 0-2. It was opening day last year in Cincinnati. Diving into a base and tore up his shoulder. Played in just 38 games, and they're hoping he can have a bounce back season and stay healthy. That's always been the concern with Ryan Ludwig. Can he stay healthy? He's had a number of injuries in his career. Lines it into center field for a base hit. So 2 innings, and both innings for Cincinnati, they have gotten their leadoff man on.
Ludwig has always been a streaky hitter, Dan, and worries you a little bit when he hits the ball so hard off of Michael Wacha in his first at-bat. Heading into this series here in St. Louis, the Cardinal fans certainly with the great greeting of Ryan Ludwig before the game, and he just can flat out hit.
Now it's Todd Frazier. Off-speed pitch, and there's what we're talking about, the improved breaking ball from Michael Wacha. There were 2 3-0 counts that he had in the previous start in Cincinnati. And you're thinking, okay, sit on the fastball. He's throwing the curveball and able to locate it for a strike. 0-2.
One of the things you try to do when you're incorporating your secondary pitch into your repertoire, Dan, is you'll use it in a situation where the other team's not looking for it. Maybe first pitch, maybe 2-0, 3-0. So if you do kind of not throw it perfectly, you might not get hurt by it. You may just fool them, and even though it maybe has a lazy break to it, you still get the desired result.
0-2 pitch. Michael Wacha going with the short sleeves. How does that affect a pitcher, if at all, on a cool day?
Well, really, once you get pitching, you're not really thinking about the weather. It's about 20 degrees hotter to him right now than it is to the rest of us just sitting here. So he's really not cold, I can promise you that.
That swung on and missed. And Frazier strikes out. Second of the afternoon for Michael Wacha as we turn to Rick Horton's keys to the game, presented by Toyota.
A couple of things that I'm really focusing on here in this game is, first of all, that the Cardinals are able to feed on the energy here at the ballpark, the opening day energy. Everybody excited to be here. Use that kind of as an ally. You got a lot of people rooting for you here today. And secondarily, and we've seen it already, don't chase the fastball of Cingrani. You're going to get fastballs, look fastball, but just don't chase.
Here is Zach Cozart, who is 0 for 19 to start the year. Chops one to short, tough to turn 2, out at second, and out at first. They turn the double play. Nice turn, Colton Wong. 6-4-3 goes the double play. Started by Peralta to Wong over to Adams. Tweet your photo using the Cardinals hashtag #CardinalsFanPhoto. It's a chance to have it shown in an upcoming game broadcast, and it's brought to you by AT&T. Bottom of the second rolls in. Cardinals in their last 10 home openers are 8-2. And the grounds crew, Billy Finley and his crew, working diligently and efficiently here today, spreading that dry agent that they throw down on the dirt to make sure that there's some type of footing on the infield. And Tony Cingrani has been struggling a little bit with his footing on the mound. Cardinals picked up 3 runs in the bottom of the first, highlighted by the RBI double with the bases loaded from Yadier Molina.
You mentioned there was plenty of rain during the opening day ceremony, and perhaps we talked about the infield, but perhaps there's some on the pitching mound as well. And Cingrani not exactly as sharp as we saw him in Cincinnati, but you don't want him to get on a roll either.
Here is Colton Wong. 1 ball, 1 strike. Frazier is in a step or two over at third. Votto backs up on the right side. How about Phillips and Votto? Those two playing in their 788th start together. Most ever right side of an infield in Cincinnati.
Both of them outstanding players, and there's a lot of experts that are suggesting that maybe the Reds won't be as good as they were a year ago, but I don't believe that. I think their young pitching is good.
Wong with a fly ball out to Billy Hamilton.
And I think their bullpen's going to be a strength before it's said and done.
No doubt. Here's Michael Wacha. Control got so bad for Tony Cingrani that he actually, before his senior year at Rice, went to his coaches and said, if you don't want me to come back, I understand. I can't throw strikes. And so what they did was try to simplify his motion and his delivery to the plate as much as they could. And that season he became the closer at Rice. His senior year had 12 saves, and that tied David Aardsma for their school record in saves.
Well, you can see both of those things working to his favor, and really good coaching there to say, let's simplify the delivery, let's take out some of the moving parts that may be messing you up, number one. But when you go to the bullpen, you're throwing every day, you have a chance to get a better feel for what it's supposed to be like. So you're, in a sense, practicing more often, building in more muscle memory than just starting and throwing once every 5 days.
Strikeout of Wacha. So 3 strikeouts for Cingrani. Reminder that tomorrow night's game, the only place you can get it is Fox Sports 1. The Reds and the Cardinals, it will not be on Fox Midwest, but Fox Sports 1. Matt Carpenter got it all started with a base hit to left with 2 strikes, his first time up.
In a typical Matt Carpenter at bat, he worked the count. Saw 6 pitches in that at bat and then took one the other way.
Make a case the most important at bat of last year's season was Matt Carpenter against Clayton Kershaw when the Cardinals wound up getting to Kershaw, but it was what, 11 or 13 pitch at bat that he had. But typical Matt Carpenter, fouling pitches off, going deep into a count, doesn't mind hitting with 2 strikes. actually prefers that. The 2-1. That's rare when you find a guy that says, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting 2 strikes on me.
Well, if you're not afraid to hit with 2 strikes, a couple of things. You're not over anxious. You have a lot of confidence, but you really know the strike zone. Because what the pitcher's trying to do with 2 strikes is make you expand your zone. But if you know it and don't do that, you have an advantage.
3-2.
So he's happy now.
Here we go. Lefties hit just 186 against Cingrani. Right-handers 200 a year ago. Full count pitch to Matt Carpenter. And he draws the walk.
Exactly what we're talking about. He's trying to expand the zone a little bit to try to get Matt Carpenter to chase, and this is not that far from being a strike, and Matt Carpenter has the confidence and the understanding of the strike zone to let that go. Another terrific at bat for Matt.
A 2-out walk, and here is Peter Borges. Let's see if now Peter can get things going a little bit now with that first hit under his belt. Looks at a pitch low. Cingrani staring back into C.B. Buckner, who was calling the balls and strikes.
Talked about the move of Cingrani. You can't break the plane, number one, and you're supposed to step. It doesn't say it actually in the book 45-degree angle, but that's how it's generally interpreted. Step essentially towards first.
Borges yanks it foul.
Happy faces. Opening day.
One pitch. You have to have a pretty dominant fastball if that's what you primarily throw as a starter, and that's what Cingrani has. As Borges yanks it foul again.
When he throws his off-speed pitches, you can see the players, unless it's 2 strikes, are basically, in players' lingo, they're spitting on him. Now, they're not literally doing that, Dan, but what they're saying is, I don't even need to mess with that, because I'm going to look at the pitch I can hit and knows coming, which is the fastball, and it makes it tough when you're a 1-pitch pitcher. But he throws a hard 92, and I know that sounds odd too, but the ball really jumps out of his hand.
That time an off-speed pitch.
Curveball.
Strikes out Borges.
Where'd that come from?
That's for today for Cingrani. The home opener here in St. Louis, top of the third, rolls in. Michael Wacha has allowed a pair of base hits. The Cardinals, big hit from Yadier Molina with the bases loaded to score 3 in the home half of the first. Switch hitting catcher Brian Pena takes a fastball high. Cingrani on deck, and then Billy Hamilton. And Pena corks one out to right. Craig won't get it. Into the gap and to the wall. Brian Pena on his way to second base. Standing up, leadoff double.
Three straight innings now where Michael Wacha's given up a hit to start the inning. Really worked out of that first inning and did a masterful job of not allowing a run. And another challenge here in the third is Pena. See the transfer of power from the backside to the front side. That was a good shot of that, and there's the power result. Double in the gap.
Cingrani asked to bunt here. Pulls back, swinging, and it's a strike.
Don't let him fool you. We saw him swing the bat and take off. He runs extremely well.
He is way up in the batter's box, too.
Awkward swing there, but
gets the bunt down, and that will roll foul. So 2 strikes on Tony Cingrani. Well, if you're going to play the Reds 6 of the first 9, this is the time to do it. As injured as they are, the bullpen, serious issues there because of the injuries. Tomorrow night, Lance Lynn and Homer Bailey. Wednesday, Shelby Miller, Mike Leake. Wednesday is a day game. The 0-2. Rick, the confidence of a pitcher to bounce one.
Wacha's trying to strike him out with a changeup, and he's not worried about whether it's going to bounce or not because Yadi's going to block it, which he did. And that tells you the degree of confidence Wacha has in his changeup that he's throwing it to a pitcher with 2 strikes. That's how much of an out pitch it is.
1-2. Many teams have talked about moving up in the box with the changeup of Wacha. Slowly put into play, barehanded by Peralta. Exactly what you were talking about, Rick. He can get down the line and beats it out for a base hit.
Well, there's his speed, but I'm not so sure he wasn't out of the box when he made contact with that. He was literally right on the front corner of the left-hander's batter's box, and when he made contact, his foot, to me, appeared to be out of the box. There's his speed, really not even close at first.
Now it's Billy Hamilton. Hamilton with a double first time up.
Cingrani aboard. Here's the front foot. Is he out of the box or not? Well, not fully.
One 1-0 pitch to Hamilton. Popped up. One away. It's a big out there. We both found it interesting that in that first inning, as the fans give Phillips a round of applause, they just love him here in St. Louis. I bet they'd love him if he wore the birds on the bat.
I'm sure we would.
But Phillips sacrificing in that first inning. A guy that had 100+ RBIs a year ago. His first ever 100 RBI season. Runners at first and third with one down. Waka and the Cardinals have already turned one double play to end the top of the second.
So that's a bit of an oddity when you look at this Reds lineup. You've got your RBI guy sacrificing for your on-base percentage guy, Joey Votto, who has said, I don't really care about RBIs, I care about getting on base. He's publicly said that.
Also, Brian Price with back-to-back lefties in this lineup. Something we did not see very often with Dusty Baker. Brian Price has been around for a long time, one of 5 new rookie managers in baseball. Price, Lloyd McClendon, Rick Renteria with Chicago, Matt Williams, Brad Ausmus. One ball and 2 strikes. Can Walker get a double play or a strikeout here? He's recorded 2 Ks already. The 1-2. Ground ball slowly hit. Carpenter to second. On to first. Double play. It's a double play. The Reds still not on the board. The second double play turn by St. Louis today. Is brought to you by the new Bacon Insider at Jack in the Box. It's got bacon mixed right into the patty at participating restaurants. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Schnucks. Inside Ballpark Village. To a look inside Busch Stadium. You saw that big screen there at Ballpark Village. What they do is show the fans inside there. You see the Matt Holliday there, the screen. That's what is on the big screen here at the ballpark. And then once the game gets going, it cuts to the action on television right here on Fox Sports Midwest. So you're almost at the ballpark. You're just across the street.
And you're comfortable, and you're with all your friends.
That's right. How about those double plays turned there by Colton Wong both times?
Very quick around the bag, especially the second time.
Holliday walked and scored back in the first inning. Outfield is deep and straight away. Off speed pitch taken for a ball. Starting to see a player at second base in Wong that is relaxing.
Yeah, settling in is what we're looking for from Wong, and you see signs of it, and see signs where he gets frustrated, where he's not performing. You can tell he wants to continually prove himself every day. What player doesn't? But you've got a career 300 hitter in the minor leagues after just a couple of seasons, I know, but he's going to hit. He's flat out going to hit. But I love that quick hands around the bag that we saw in that double play to end the last inning.
2-1 the count. Holiday scoring all the way from first base. The double by Yadier Molina in the first. Do you see at times Cingrani telegraph his off-speed pitches?
Yeah, he slows down a little bit and it gets a little loopy in his delivery. It doesn't even come from the same arm slot, and you know he's working on it. He's trying to get that secondary pitch.
And that's ball 4 to Holiday. Third walk issued by this lefty. Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina receive their Gold Gloves on Sunday, and you can take home the replica featuring those two, and that'll be this Sunday. Still good seats available. Our first look at the Chicago Cubs beginning on Friday night. Michael Wacha bobblehead, the replica ring giveaway on Saturday, and the Gold Glove giveaway on Sunday. Short lead at first by Holiday, who has about a 2-step lead and still was going back to the bag with Cingrani.
Well, that just shows you the deception that Cingrani has, and you just don't want to make a mistake with that. He's not really going anywhere. Talking about Matt Holiday, just don't get picked off. Station to station.
Alan Craig came up with nobody out, the bases loaded, struck out in the first.
Doesn't stop him from trying to pick him off, and Holiday an awkward slide back. You can tell he's confused by Cingrani's move. There's the step and a dive lead, if that.
1 ball, 1 strike on Craig. A lot of times when Alan Craig is right, you see him go up the middle or to the opposite field.
Right.
Big gap on the right side of the infield here with Votto holding at first. Outfield very deep.
Alan Craig had a rough start a year ago. He was just 8 for his first 38 and ended up having a big year. So I don't think anybody's too worried about Alan Craig, but he's a little jumpy right now at the plate too. Even that last pitch, the way he took it, just not the normal way you see Alan Craig take a pitch down the way.
Three and 1.
People would say, why would Cingrani throw to first? Matt Holliday's not going there anywhere. Well, it's a weapon for him. If he can pick him off, why not? It's not just I'm about keeping him close. I'm trying to get some outs here. I'm pitching to Alan Craig, and bad things can happen. I want to get outs any way I can.
Chance here for Craig. 3 balls, 1 strike. Holiday short lead at first. Craig hits it sharply to third, backhanded by Frazier. The turn by Phillips, and it's a double play. 5-4-3 on the double play.
We've seen 2 very good 5-4-3 double plays. Carpenter started one in the top of the inning, and this is Frazier to Phillips to Votto, and Frazier had to handle a tough hop there to make that one happen, and Carpenter and Wong had to be quick to make the other one happen.
So here's Molina. RBI total is jumped up to 6 with 1 swing of the bat. The 3 RBIs, if you're just joining us, that he picked up in the first inning with the bases loaded. He cleared them with a double into left.
I was having a particularly bad day against the Dodgers a number of years ago, and there's a look at downtown St. Louis moving into Busch Stadium, and Bob Welch, the other team's pitcher, couldn't hit at all and got a hit off of me. He was standing on first base laughing and smiling and drove in a couple of runs, and it was just an awful inning. I was so mad. I picked him off while he was buttoning his coat after they brought it onto the field. That'll teach you.
Did you remind him of this?
No, I haven't seen Bob Welch since then. But I just wasn't real happy with him.
And how many did you have in 1 year? Pickoffs?
11 or 12.
Yeah. Molina swinging away on 3-0. The shallow right center taken there by Billy Hamilton. Leadoff walk erased with the double play and the fly out by Yachty. Out of trouble every inning so far.
And since 2010, Pat Parris has been counting up all the number of times where somebody gets on base to lead off an inning, and he tells us that 46.1% of the time a team will score when their leadoff batter reaches base. But today 0 for 3 are the Cincinnati Reds. The Cardinals have been on base twice to start innings, and they've scored once.
Joey Votto. Votto, Bruce, and Ludwig here in the top of the fourth. That's strike one. Votto with a runner at third and one out could bring in Billy Hamilton. Play that went 4 to 5 to 2 to 4. Hamilton was in the rundown, and then Bruce struck out to end the threat back in the first.
You're Cincinnati Reds or a fan of the Cincinnati Reds, pretty frustrated right now with their inability to drive those runs in after getting opportunities, especially in the third inning when you had a couple runners aboard and you were at the top of the lineup.
I think that's more commonplace than anything else. There's that changeup dipping away from a lefty, but where Votto stands, look at that, the back foot just about out of the batter's box.
Wide stance too for Votto. Almost takes up the whole batter's box.
The 2-2.
Well, the old theory was if you move up in the box, you negate the off-speed pitches because you're going to try to hit it before the slider slides and the curveball curves, and you're going to be able to hit the changeup, and you go deep in the box if you're trying to protect against the fastball. That's kind of the old school way of looking at it. But I think in Votto's case, he also sees the ball longer if you're deep in the box. And now 4 straight innings with the leadoff runner aboard for Cincinnati.
First walk issued by Michael Walkup. Jay Bruce struck out swinging on a 3-2 pitch back in the first inning. Outfield is deep and straight away. The shift is on here for Jay Bruce as well. Short lead by Votto.
talked about this before, but this makes the double play just a little more awkward in terms of how you turn it. Not a throw that Colton Long is used to making from that particular position.
Also, it's interesting to see how the Cardinals, when they do shift, how they do it. In this particular case, with a runner on, it's Carpenter sliding over to where the shortstop would be, and Peralta is on the second base side, where we have seen them use Carpenter going to shallow right from third base in what I'm sure is a familiar spot for him, having played second.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why at this point in time they're not doing it that way again, because if you have a double play, now you've got all of a sudden Matt Carpenter, your guy that's making the turn at second base, which, you know, certainly he's not used to. He's basically the shortstop, and you're making Peralta the second baseman on a turn. A different throw for him on a double play. So if you keep Peralta at short, keep Wong where he is, and move Carpenter over to where Wong currently is, you've got more people in familiar spots.
One ball and 2 strikes.
And as you say, we've seen that before, used by the Cardinals, but not here.
You mentioned it earlier, the changeup acts as a left-handed slider for Michael Wacha. It is so good at times, it's almost like a screwball.
Right.
And if you're wondering how Michael Wacha holds his changeup, it is the circle change.
Make a circle with your pointer finger and your thumb, literally make a circle, and then the other 3 fingers essentially grip the baseball with that circle on the side of the ball, and try to throw it. Try to throw a baseball like that at home. Not that easy.
2-2 is pulled foul.
You ever try to do that?
Oh yeah, it's very difficult, and I found it interesting in talking with you how from your professional career from season to season, getting the grips on the baseball year to year, it was a challenge, wasn't it?
Well, the feel of a changeup is really important, and when you go through an off season, you might lose that feel. As we were talking, Dan, I have a baseball at home where after a particularly bad year and a long off season, I actually took the baseball when I got it right, and I drew with a pen my fingers on the baseball so I would remember the grip from year to year. You're welcome.
Let's go into the extreme.
You're welcome to borrow it.
I'm good. The check swing, throw down to first, and back safely is Votto, but Bruce did go, so it's a strikeout. And that'll be the 3rd of the day for Michael Wacha. It's pretty amazing when you have a pitch like Wacha does, and hitters will tell you, I know it's coming. I'm guessing changeup. I'm getting geared up for the changeup, and yet they're still way out in front, and it's ground balls or pop-ups. They just can't center it either. I mean, it's just great movement and the change of speeds. This is Ludwig, and he pops it into shallow left. It's Holiday nearly running into Peralta to make the catch, and diving back into first safely, Joey Votto.
Holiday goes a long way to get that ball, and Votto goes a long way to second base, thinking that it might drop. Hoping. Nah, better go the other way.
I'm sure Holiday was waiting to get to that baseball before he called off Peralta, and those two nearly collided. Here's Todd Frazier, who struck out swinging. Cardinals have said about the makeup of Michael Wacha, they have never seen him change. Whether he's gotten beaten up at this level, which has happened. We all don't remember it, but it did happen a couple of times in some starts. And they just said his makeup is just something you just can't teach. It's off the charts. Remarkable how he handles himself. Again, only 22. There's the cutter. He was saying to us the other day that Adam Wainwright has been instrumental in trying to help him with release point of the breaking ball. And he said, yeah, I've got this great changeup, but so what? I need to get better and better and better. There's a broken bat. Slowly hit to short. Peralta across the diamond to get Todd Frazier. We're midway through 4. It's Adams, Peralta, and Wong due up. Tickets available. That's coming up on Friday night, and that's when the Cardinals play the Chicago Cubs. That's Friday, April 11th. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. See some of the folks over at the AT&T rooftop across the street, top Ballpark Village. Those seats have been reduced for Wednesday's day game at cardinals.com. Mark Ellis, a part of the pregame festivities here at the ballpark, and soon enough we're going to see him in some live action. Cardinals have talked about potentially getting him in some games. Mike Matheny was asked about that, and he said, yeah, I think that's probably the best thing for him.
Well, he's getting close to the time where they're ready to do that as well, and Mark Ellis will be a big part of this team in 2014. He will give good at-bats off the bench, very solid defender at second base, and the Cardinals had him play some third in spring training.
And it was, as you get a look at Adams, Ellis playing third base, it may have cost him too. Rain delayed game against Miami. He slipped, re-aggravated a leg injury, and so he misses the first week or two of this regular season. 1 ball, 1 strike on Matt Adams. No shift used on Adams, at least not what we saw from Pittsburgh. They shifted, it seemed like, on every other at bat with the various lineups used in those 3 games. And yesterday, boy, did it pay off.
Sure did. A number of balls hit hard up the middle, especially where there were Pirate infielders just waiting right behind the bag. The Adams shift was much more pronounced by the Reds in Cincinnati. There's no question about it. He had 4 hits the other way in that series, and maybe they threw that chart out or made a new one.
Three-two pitch, and Adams skies it into center. Hamilton backing up in front of the track and makes the catch. Matt Adams 0 for 2. Brings in Johnny Peralta. Flied out to right. One out, nobody on.
Nice to see all of our Hall of Famers, and as we talked about here for the opening day festivities and being at home plate, shaking hands with the current Cardinals, and good to see Tony La Russa here. Got a nice round of applause by the Cardinal fans here, and congratulations to Tony and to Joe Torre, another former Cardinal manager, at least for a while, and a former Cardinal player, for going into the Hall of Fame. That's going to be a very special part of this season in July.
Bobby Cox as well. Here's a 1-1. I don't know about you. I think a lot of attention has been put on Craig's slow start. Borges clearly without a hit coming into play today. One guy we haven't really talked that much about that is off to a slow start, hitting .091, is Peralta. He does have a couple of home runs, but the point being, with veterans, they have a track record.
Right.
And it's such a long season.
Well, the veterans, you just assume they're going to get back to the bean before it's over. If they're a 280 hitter, a 300 hitter, in the case of Johnny Peralta, he's going to be around that when it's done. And you just don't even really worry about that. A young guy, you're wondering, well, is he not hitting here at this level because they're pitching him differently, or because he can't handle this level? So a little bit different story for a young player. But the veterans, you're right. If you've shown you can hit, you're going to hit.
2-2 is hit back. And Peralta stays alive.
Another good start going for Michael Wacha.
Number no coach. I definitely think that will have an impact on ejections. Now, Mike Matheny was saying it was a unique first week in the fact that they did not have replay. They're still trying to figure it all out, but yet, boy, they had some odd plays along the way, too.
Agreed. No doubt.
Three-two pitch, and he walked him. Cingrani is up to 80 pitches already. We're only in the bottom of the fourth with one out. So 4 walks issued by the lefty. Cardinals have 3 hits. Wong is 0 for 1. Cincinnati last year en route to the playoffs, 90-72. Lost their final 5 games, and in doing so they lost home field advantage against Pittsburgh. Place is a madhouse. They lost that game. 1-game playoff. Votto on the short hop. Can't field it cleanly, and Wong is aboard.
Votto may have tried to do too much with that. Good defensive player. You mentioned he's got a Gold Glove to his credit. I don't know whether he was just thinking, I'm going to try to get the lead runner in charge and get the short hop, or just get the ball while it was still fair, but chose that short hop and booted it forward and caused some trouble.
So now it is Michael Wacha, the Hyundai replay with Colton Wong.
At the top of the ball, and there's Votto, and he is thinking about second base. He's getting ready to spin and try to get the lead runner, trying to be very quick with this, and he charged it hard, got the short hop, and booted it.
Corners are in. They're charging, and Wacha pops it up. Strike one. Air charge to Votto. Runners at first and second. Wacha is such a good athlete. The Cardinals have talked about that they feel he can handle the bat. You know, more so than just trying to sacrifice. And we've seen where some pitchers, they have absolutely no chance. That's not the case with Michael Wacha. Matter of fact, in his major league debut, he singled to right.
Well, all the Cardinal pitchers are working on just making short approaches to the baseball, making contact, put the ball in play.
There's a good bunt. Will it stay fair? It does. Votto to Phillips. Runners advance to second and third.
Good work by Michael Wacha, helping himself out.
Well, Matt Carpenter last year drove in 78, 69 of those from the leadoff spot. And the 78 RBIs more than Joey Votto. To put it in perspective, the kind of year that he had. Cardinals with runners in scoring position and 2 outs coming into this game were 0 for 16 as Cristiani starts to throw in the pen for Cincinnati. That's a right-hander, Nick Cristiani. They have one lefty, Manny Parham, who actually picked up the save in New York. Runners at second and third for Carpenter. 1 ball, 1 strike. Matt today has singled and scored with a base hit to left and walked, left stranded in the second.
One thing we haven't really talked about, Dan, is the trouble that the Cardinals had with left-handed starters a year ago, and they were able to beat Francisco Liriano in Pittsburgh, but they lost to Cingrani on this last trip.
After that first inning, Liriano was outstanding. Here's a 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pitch count at 87. Brian Price as Cingrani due up third, coming up in the 5th. So this could be his final inning of work, depending on what happens here.
Be a short start, wouldn't it?
Sure would. You walk 4, that happens. One-two is swung on and missed, and a strikeout of Matt Carpenter. Cingrani has struck out 5. Cristiani, the right-hander, continues to throw in the pen for the Cincinnati Reds. Cingrani is due up third. There's a strike from Waka to Zach Cozart. Cozart bounced into a 6-4-3 double play. The Cardinals have turned 2 today, and Zach Cozart is 0 for his first 20. Zach Cozart is 0 for his first 21.
Did that math fast.
It's quick. That's how we start the 5th. You can follow every Cardinals game with MLB.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. Get live look-ins, instant replay, and more. Visit Cardinals.com today.
Cardinals missed a chance to add on down there in the bottom of the 4th inning. You hope that doesn't come back to you. They really haven't been able to do that against Cingrani, who's only given up 3 hits.
Pena drives it into right center. Borges on the move, won't get it. One hops off the wall, and Brian Pena is 2 for 2 with a pair of doubles.
Somebody needs to go down there and tell Brian Pena that Michael Wacha's really good.
Right. Chevy Fox tracks. Where was that pitch?
Seems to have not gotten the memo, and he just jumps on this first pitch and pitch middle away, drives it into that same gap in right center field.
So that'll be it for Cingrani. Roger Bernardina will be the pinch hitter. He is their only left-handed pinch hitter that they have. We'll see Cristiani come in. So Tony Cingrani, short outing for him, trailing 3-0, but only giving the Reds 4 innings of work.
Long term, that's not going to work for Brian Price and his bullpen. They'll have to get 4 innings every night. You're going to need starters to go deeper into a game, and I know it's early in the season, Dan, but that's an awful short start for Cingrani.
88 pitches for the lefty, and that's it for him. They talk about having command inside the strike zone, and you can't walk 4 and expect to stay in the game long. 46 strikes, 42 balls, and so that's the issue right now with Cingrani in this start, which is over at 5 innings. Waka, meanwhile, is at 66 pitches. Brian Pena, the runner at second base. So Roger Bernardina, a few years with Washington. Looks at a fastball to make it 3-1. That's driven into right center. Borges on the move. He won't get that one either. One hops off the wall. Back-to-back doubles here for Cincinnati. Bernardina off the bench. The move that pays off for Brian Price, and the Reds get on the board to make it 3-1.
Bernardina's already shown he comes off the bench swinging. We saw him do that in Cincinnati. Almost had a couple of hits, hit the ball hard twice, now 3 times in the pinch hit role against the Cardinals. This one finds the gap. The Reds on the board.
So back-to-back doubles, and here is Billy Hamilton. We've been saying he's one of the most exciting players you'll watch. However, that's when he gets on base. Hamilton doubled back in the first, then left stranded, got caught in a rundown. Hamilton is a switch hitter and possesses the most speed of any player in the big leagues, bar none. Good breaking ball. There were just 12 teams that cracked as a team 100 steals last year. The Reds had just 67. Last player to collect over 100 steals in the big leagues, Vince Coleman. Ground ball. Adams racing to the bag, makes the play. Bernardina advancing to third.
Walker had gone 21 innings without giving up an earned run against the Cincinnati Reds until that drive.
And it brings in Brandon Phillips. Phillips sacrificed in the first, bounced into a 5-4-3 double play in the third. The Cardinals, and you think in terms of a young pitcher like Michael Wacha, they were very careful with his innings this time last year. That was really the talk of Michael Wacha in camp, that they had to be very careful with him. And this year, Derek Lilliquist telling both of us that if he gets to 200, low 200s, that should not be an issue. Little squibber that stays foul.
As he said, there's really no prescribed limit for him. They just figured let him go. But of course, we'll watch him. And I think that number, Dan, is a little dangerous. I think when people just think of it as a number, I think there are times if somebody's struggling, you have 2 or 3 bad starts in a row, and you just seem like you're laboring. You know, you may want to back off a guy when he gets into that situation. Not predicting that with Wacha, but it's more than just the number of innings. It's why we weren't worried about Wainwright's innings a year ago, because he was so locked in.
What these two young starters have done against the opposing team. Michael Wacha finally has given up a run this season. Big gap in left center for Phillips. 1 ball and 2 strikes. A liner and caught by Colton Wong. That saves a run, the third and final out here in the top of the 5th. The Cardinals have Borges, Holiday, and Craig due up. St. Louis leads it 3-1. Let's get you caught up. Yadier Molina, a 3-run double with the bases loaded in the first inning after Alan Craig had struck out. Molina bails him out. That made it 3-0. Michael Wacha, his home debut. He has been impressive. 5 innings, 6 hits. The 1 earned run moments ago, a walk and 3 strikeouts. But the difference, Mr. Rick Horton, the All-Star, the MVP candidate, the Gold Glover, Mr. Yadier Molina.
He's the difference a lot, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Not only what he does offensively, but how he handles the pitching staff and a lot of the young pitchers that the Cardinals have. Yadi is the guy, we mention it all the time, Dan, but if there's one guy you can't afford to lose, it's Yadier Molina. He is just such a key to this team. The Cardinals expected to be very deep this year, but it's hard to replace him. our Chevy call to the bullpen is Nick Christiani, who the Cardinals saw on Thursday in the final game of that series. And he was very good that day, hitting in 2/3 out of the bullpen. Not a big guy, but Cardinals did not hit him. And they'll send Borges, Holiday, and Craig to the plate here in the 5th.
Christiani is from New Jersey. 6 foot, 190 pounds, and they talk about him being deceptive because of his size, but yet a hard thrower. That pitch at 91, pitched at Vanderbilt. Came up through their system, and with all the injuries, he's getting a chance here early on in this 2014 season. Peter Borges at the plate. Borges chops it to the right side. Phillips quickly to first, one away as Votto holds on. Weather's getting warmer and everyone's wearing red, and you know what also is back? 50-cent drinks at Mobile on the Run. Cardinals score 6. Get any size coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just 50 cents the next day. So keep the savings going all season long at your nearest On the Run.
I like that view. Pretty good idea just how close those two are and how fast that pitch comes in, too.
Holiday, pair of walks, and spins away from ball 1.
One of the things that baseball does not really show very easily on television, the reality of the speed. Maybe you can see it here. I mean, where is that pitch? What's the spin? When do I start my swing? All that happens in about half a second.
I'm going to remind you of a great day in your life, but it was also a tough day.
Okay. He said with fear.
It's Holiday. Hits one out to right. Backing up Bruce to make the catch.
A great day, yet a tough day.
And I'm not talking about your wedding day.
Okay.
That was a tough day on Ann.
Yeah.
I am talking about, though, your major league debut.
Oh, yeah.
30 years ago today.
Is that right?
30 years ago today, 1984 at Candlestick.
Yeah, I remember.
Giants won 11-0. You went 2 1/3. One flap down. Don't hit me, please. Don't. I'm not trying to upset you. As you get a look at Alan Craig.
Jeff Leonard.
Jeffrey Leonard. One flap down.
Very first pitch I threw, by the way. Did you know
in the big
that?
leagues.
Yes.
And it went where?
It's an exclusive club. I believe there's 17 in the history of the game that have done that. Josh Kinney is the last Cardinal to have done it. And done it meaning giving up a home run on your first pitch.
You settled in after that, though.
I did. Well, I came in with a couple runners aboard, gave up a home run.
You thought this league's pretty darn good.
Well, I thought it was pretty good when I threw a fastball and hit it the other way.
1-1 pitch. Craig, a bouncer too short. And Alan Craig 0 for 3 today. Christiani, a 1-2-3 bottom of the 5th. 30 years ago, Rick Horton. Congratulations to you. You made your major league debut. 2014. Let's check in with Jim Hayes. What do you have, Jim?
Well, Alan Craig 0 for 3 today, obviously off to a slow start, just 2 hits and 2 RBIs. Mike Matheny was talking about Craig before the game. Matheny says Allen's, quote, timing is off a hair, but Matheny said he's not worried. He says he sees the same swing from Craig that he always has seen, and he says there's no underlying issue. The only thing that's missing right now is the results, according to Matheny. Mike says he expects that to change at any time, and Dan, like you said, track record, right?
No question. Hurt in early September. We saw him in postseason play. Gets magnified when you have a run like this at the beginning of a season as opposed to when it happens in July.
That's the way it works, and many times during the season the player is going to have a 1 for 9 or a 1 for 10. It just happens, and at the beginning you start to press a little bit more. You like to get on that board.
Votto, the check swing, and Waka, 1 pitch, 1 away, and that's how we start play in the top of the 6th. Votto 0 for 2.
Just a tough guy to get out. There's the curveball, and didn't see the break perhaps, and couldn't hold back his bat down in the zone. A couple of frustrating things for Joey Votto here this afternoon. Frustrated by his fielding play. Wasn't able to drive a run in that first inning. And
Jay Bruce, the shift was on. What a play here. The stretch by Adams gets out of the way. The out. 2 down.
Colton Wong positioned perfectly, playing Jay Bruce to pull. There he is in the hole, and he's got expanded range because he's so deep, because this is a base hit. Should have been, but it's a 4-3 with a little help from Matt Adams. And thankfully Jay Bruce decided not to turn that into a collision.
Here's Ludwig. Yeah, if you're Jay Bruce, you're trying to figure out which way is Adams going to go. You guess wrong. There's a big time collision.
2 big boys too.
You got it. 1-0 pitch. Ludwig looks at a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike, and Michael Waka has been sharp here today.
He's touched for that 1 run in the 5th inning with back-to-back doubles, but has commanded the strike zone.
And Ludwig singles out to left. Game 2 of this series tomorrow. What's on tap, brought to you by Budweiser. You can see that on Fox Sports 1. Not on Fox Sports Midwest, but 1. Bailey and Lynn in game number 2. Lance Lynn, very good numbers against Cincinnati in his career. Here is Todd Frazier. Popped up, shallow left. Holiday. 6 pitches in the inning for Michael Waka. Molina, Adams, Peralta coming up. An opening day, the home opener here in St. Louis. We have an AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photos to the hashtag Cardinals fan photo for a chance to be shown in an upcoming game broadcast. It's brought to you by AT&T. Well, this day started with us wondering if we'd get this game in, much less the ceremony, which is unlike any other in our opinions. When you think about St. Louis, the Hall of Famers, Clydesdales. Now, we did not have the Budweiser Clydesdales, but we did have the Hall of Famers, and it is exceptional.
Well, every team in baseball loves their home opener, and certainly we want to give them credit for that, not belittle that. But there's something about here in St. Louis and the tradition and how much the fans have just embraced opening day, and all the World Series championships and pennants, I think, have something to do with that tradition. And always a fun day filled with nice moments. I mentioned my favorite moment with Lance Lynn shaking the hands of the Hall of Famers, but before he did, he took his hat off.
You know what one of my favorite moments was? Pat Neshek came out and he was introduced.
Saw that too.
The first Hall of Famer that he went to was Tony La Russa, and instead of going in front, he was going to go, and he wasn't meaning to do this on purpose or, you know, saying, hey, I'm trying to avoid people. He was just going to go join his teammates along the first base line, and La Russa, hopefully Pat will be able to pitch. There's a hop to Votto.
He grabbed him.
He grabbed him, I think, by the arm and said, get over here and shake everybody's hands. And Neshek was like, oh, wait a minute. I get to shake Gibson and Brock and Red. Okay, I'll come on back. Sure. I've had the players tell me that they always request from the team photographer to make sure that they get those pictures, ones that they will cherish. It's a keepsake from opening day. Here is Adams, who is 0 for 2.
Again, not much of a shift for Cincinnati against Matt Adams.
Well, they pitched him away, and he went with those pitches. Something that he really worked on this offseason, trying to hit it to the other way.
And that can be a bit of a misnomer too, Dan, because there's times where Mike Matheny talking about that this week, times where you play a guy to pull, a left-hander to pull, and you'll still pitch him away off speed stuff because he tends to roll those over. That's part of the reason the spray chart is the way it is, that they try to pull the outside pitch. And so there are times where it still makes sense, even when you're shifting, to pitch somebody away with off-speed pitches, for example. But in the case of Matt Adams, I think he's made an adjustment, and I think teams are going to have to readjust to him.
The 2-1 pitch to Adams. Slices that out to left and drops in for a hit. Ball scoots away from Ludwig. I wonder if Ryan Ludwig thinks twice about diving, because he was a guy that we saw dive all the time in St. Louis and come up with some great plays, but it's more valuable to keep him in that lineup. StubHub, you can earn 2% back in fan rewards on every purchase of Cardinal tickets. Find it at StubHub. That looked to be one of those tailor-made Ryan Ludwig type diving plays. Here's Johnny Peralta, who is flied out to right and also walked. Slowly to third, barehanded by Frazier, and he makes the play. So with 2 down, you have Colton Long. Then the pitcher spot. Cardinals with Martinez throwing in the pen. So even if you thought about walking Colton Long, Cardinals could go to their bench and use a pinch hitter at this spot, try to cash in to extend their 3-1 lead.
You have John Jay is probably the choice, and they are going to walk Colton Wong, and they're going to force Mike Matheny's hand right here.
Walker has not moved to the on-deck circle yet.
82 pitches for Walker. You've got the confidence in Carlos Martinez and Trevor Rosenthal, and that means John Jay will pinch hit. Cardinals have not had a lot of opportunities, Dan, and the game is a little bit too close for comfort.
Pretty telling what Mike Matheny did game on Saturday, having Martinez come in with 1 out and 2 on in the 6th inning. A game that he really wanted to win. It was against Liriano, and maybe, I'm not saying a lack of confidence in his bullpen, but yet great confidence in Segras, Martinez, and Rosenthal.
We may see that trifecta again, maybe not in that order, because you've got the left-handers that would be due up if things go well in the 7th inning. You'd see the left-handers in the 8th.
You could see why a John Jay and a Daniel Descalso could be big players in this series with only one lefty in the bullpen for Brian Price, and that's Manny Parra, who potentially could be closing some games out before they get Marshall or Broxton or Chapman back.
Interesting in the Cardinal bench, at least as it's constructed in the early going here in 2014. There are guys that have played an awful lot. John Jay, Daniel Descalso's played a lot. Pete Kozma, starting shortstop a year ago. You've got some guys that are used to playing for the Cardinals available.
John Jay saw his hitting streak. 15 games carried over from last year. That was snapped over the weekend. That was the second longest active streak in the major leagues. As Jay, the first pitch, hits it sharply to short. Cozart is there. So the day is through for Michael Wacha. A chance to win it if the bullpen can make it stick. This afternoon, Michael Wacha, 6 innings, 7 hits, a run. It was earned, walked 1, and struck out 3. 82 pitches today for Michael Wacha.
Well, he didn't seem to be affected at all by all that it is opening day. He came out firing in the first inning. He was able to make pitches when he needed to with Reds aboard. Allowed the first runner to reach base in 4 straight innings, but only gave up the 1 run in that 5th inning. Michael Wacha showing why he is such a fantastic young talent. And speaking of young talent, Carlos Martinez, our Chevy call to the bullpen, has been very sharp in the early going, and you can see him being used, Dan, in multiple ways. if you're Mike Matheny. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him start a game before the year is over. He can do long relief. He can pitch in the ninth if necessary. And I love the energy that Carlos Martinez brings to this game.
He is fun to watch.
He really is.
First pitch, grounded to short. One pitch, one away. Adams stays on the bag, and Cozart, his struggles continue. Hitless today, 0 for 22 to start the year. One guy that Walker had issues with was Brian Pena. Doubled twice with one hoppers off the wall in right center field. You look at this game today, Rick, and going back to what you were talking about with Michael Walker, the first inning. It's a leadoff double by Hamilton, sacrificed by Phillips, and you've got Votto and Bruce coming up with only one out. So to get out of that jam was big for Michael Walker. Brian Pena is 3 for 3 today. Base hit into right. And Chris Heisey, who had a walk-off hit for the Cardinals, or against the Cardinals for the Reds last week, will be the pinch hitter.
Sure seems locked in, doesn't he? He's just jumping on the first pitch that he sees, and kind of has a little bit of a long swing, but he's just very much centering the baseball.
Cardinals have turned 2 double plays. We saw Heisey play an awful lot last year after the injury to Ryan Ludwig. Carlos Martinez has a 2-seamer, the 4-seamer, and just a devastating slider. Like that.
If all things work the way it's supposed to work for the Cardinals in this game, with look at the Cincinnati bullpen, that's Trevor Bell, but in the Cardinals side, if you go to Segras, then go to Rosenthal, you will have had 4 pitchers today who are 22, 23, 24, and 23.
Amazing.
On opening day.
Amazing. This is a team that many believe they are the favorites to win in the National League.
There's the old guy at 24.
And the thing is, too, is that you're talking about guys that want to start, that eventually could be in the rotation before it's all said and done. Martinez nearly made that happen coming out of spring. The 1-2 pitch, swing, and a miss, and a strikeout of Heisey. Seemed to be overmatched in that at bat.
Way behind on this pitch, way late, and an awkward swing. What about the movement? Down and in on Heisey. Yachty turns his glove over to frame it. That's his 2-seamer, which is about 2 miles an hour slower than his 4-seamer and plenty fast enough.
They talk about the 4-seamer being just a pitch that Martinez will show up in the zone, changes the eye angle. That tails and catches the outside corner to Billy Hamilton. Doubled back in the first. Was up with runners at first and third. 1 out, popped out to short. Came up with a runner in at third and the fifth. Grounded out. The 0-1.
Talk about nasty.
Wow. Carpenter at third base, backing up a step or two with 2 strikes. Adams holding the runner at first. And here's the 0-2 to Hamilton. Runner goes. Throw by Yachty to second. Yes, got him. Hamilton left standing at the plate, and Pena, the catcher, gunned down. Opening day. He's in line for the victory if the bullpen can make it stick. 3-1 St. Louis in the Mazda game summary. Waka 6 innings, 7 hits. Molina 1 for 3 with a double. That was in the first inning with the bases loaded. Tony Cingrani only 4 innings for the starter of the Cincinnati Reds. And then Brian Pena 3 for 3, pair of doubles, but just caught stealing. Play that made you scratch your head just a bit with the tying run at the plate. Here is Trevor Bell, our Chevy, called to the pen.
Cardinals saw him in Cincinnati as well. Walked a couple of batters in that outing.
By the way, Brian Pena did not steal 1 base in the last 3 years.
2 in his career. Really odd for him to be running there. You and I talked during the break about all the potential reasons why Brian Price may have sent him with Billy Hamilton at the plate, and I'm not sure I had a very good reason. Brian Price knows his players.
Rick, you didn't have a good reason because I don't think there is one.
Well, none of the 4 or 5 things we came up with made enough sense to flash the steal sign, in my opinion.
Here's Carpenter. Breaks his bat. Ground ball that's hit to Phillips. 1 away. The Bud Bash Friday. It is this weekend. And this Friday, Kenny Rates signing autographs beginning at 5:30. Ken Rates will be here. The Zamboni. First 200 people in the Budweiser Bash line will be guaranteed an autograph. For information and tickets, visit Cardinals.com/promotions. It's the Michael Wacha bobblehead night as well. Here's Peter Bourjos. Singled on a broken bat to center and scored. That was in the first. He has struck out. And then against Nick Christiani in the 5th, he grounded out to second. You know, going back to Billy Hamilton, the only thing I can think of is that Hamilton isn't going to pull the ball, so start the runner, opens up a gap left side if he's trying to slap it the other way.
And we also talked about the fact that he looked so bad on that curveball, was behind in the count, that maybe there wasn't a lot of confidence that he was going to get much other than a strikeout, or at least just put the ball in play. So but everything that we talked about didn't really make much sense, Dan, as far as Pena running.
The Phantom Cam, and that is a shattered bat. The 2-1 pitch to Peter Bourjos. That is fair. Let's watch Bourjos run. Rounding first on his way to second. In there easily at second base. That's why they brought him to St. Louis. One of the reasons is great speed.
So you're protecting against the bunt. Bourjos has already shown he'll do that. So in on the grass at third is Frazier. So you can't make this play. Over his head. Bourjos slips out of the box. But it doesn't matter. He's able to get to second base. His second hit of the afternoon. The Cardinals need to add on here. 3 runs in that first inning and just not really much offense since.
Here is Holiday. Pair of walks, and he's also flied out to deep right. Phillips trying to keep Bourjos close. One and two. Matt Holliday against Cincinnati. This is since 2009. What he's done against the Reds came over in the middle of 2009. Did Holliday from Oakland. Holiday with a high fly ball into deep right field. It's at the track and it's off the wall. Borges flying around third. He'll score easily, and Holiday adds to the Cardinal lead. 4-1 here on a home opener in St. Louis.
Exactly what the Cardinals needed to do, add on, and it's Matt Holiday showing opposite field power. Talk about loading, transfer, and driving the baseball. Look at the forearms of Matt Holiday. Incredibly strong. And no trouble scoring Peter Borges.
Coming into this inning, the Cardinals only had 4 hits in this game. Now it's Craig. A pickoff, and Holiday diving back in. What would have been a very close play if Bell would have decided to throw to second. Alan Craig struck out on a 3-2 pitch in the first. Grounded into a double play in the third and grounded out to short in the fifth.
About breaking out right here.
Little flare out to right center. That ball will get down. Alan Craig has himself a base hit and an RBI. 5-1 St. Louis.
A lot to cheer about here in the Cardinals' 7th inning. They've added on a couple of runs. It's Craig taking a slider the other way. That's his 3rd RBI of the season, scoring Matt Holiday.
Sure, a little relief right now for Alan Craig too. Here's Molina, got it all started back in the first inning. Bases loaded, double to make it 3-0. Yachty has made so many adjustments to his game. It's his 10th consecutive opening day start behind the plate in Cincinnati. He's made himself a very, very tough out. Grounds it to short. Out at second. The turn by Phillips. Didn't need to rush it, but he did. As Craig went into Phillips. The force is 6-4. And I'm not sure why Phillips decided to feel like he had to rush it with a bare hand. It was slowly hit, but you've got to know who's running.
I think he was confusing the pressure of Craig sliding into the base with pressure to get the ball to first. He could have cleared, taken a couple extra steps, but he was trying to avoid Craig and felt the pressure there because Craig got there in a hurry. So that was the hard part, getting the lead runner. He actually barehanded it, but he had time to shuffle his feet a bit.
So 2 outs, runner at first, extends the inning to Matt Adams, who is singled. That was in the 6th. Flied out to center and struck out in the first. Curtis Parch is throwing in the Reds' pen.
We learned something in Cincinnati. That's been a bit of a misconception. You get the sense that you can't assume a double play. You give an error, but that's really only intended for the throw. So no error on Brandon Phillips. But when Matt Adams dropped a ball in a double play situation, that can be ruled an error.
Adams down the right field line. That's fair. Off the sidewall. Yachty around second base on his way to third. It's another 2-hit day for Matt Adams.
Watch the location up, trying to go up the ladder about number high. And it's right in the heart of the plate, about thigh high. So a mislocation.
Johnny Peralta 0 for 2. Fly to right, grounded out to third, and a walk in the fourth. The crowd today, 47,492, 47,492. And that'll be it for Bell. Packed house here at Busch in the home opener in St. Louis. Was 5-1 in favor of the Cardinals.
Take a look at a couple of the Cardinals sluggers. Matt Holliday, look how close his hands are to his body. Talk about keeping your hands inside the ball but still driving it and finishing it. A little bit more of a loopy swing for Alan Craig, and finds a hole on the right side of the Reds defense with that, but a little bit more of an uppercut with that swing. Holliday more down to the ball. But Alan Craig has certainly gotten results with that swing in his career, and I have no doubt that he's going to be 290 plus, drive in 100 runs. He'll have a typical Alan Craig season.
Here's Curtis Parch. Chevy called to the pen. With all the injuries the Reds have had, Parch getting a second opportunity. He was one of the first cuts in spring for the Reds. And you may remember him making his debut against St. Louis last year. And on a Sunday night, it was a grand slam that was hit by Matt Holliday to welcome him to the big leagues.
We talked about it after 4 innings that Brian Price is asking a lot of his bullpen to finish this game out.
Right.
And you've already had to use 3 relievers out of the pen, and not done yet.
Runners at the corners, and Peralta skies one into center. Billy Hamilton is back, and he makes the catch. Cardinals pick up 2. They lead it 5-1. The home opener. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Let's go to our studio right across the street. Pat Paris in a Bommarito Sports Update. Pat. And in that series, we'll be celebrating the 50 years of that championship. That's hard to believe. 50th anniversary of the 64 team. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Look at the Ford Plaza. Just beyond the center field wall here at Busch Stadium. Second inning of work for Martinez. Billy Hamilton at the plate. It's Hamilton, Phillips, and then Votto. Kevin Segrist has been up and throwing, so he's loose and available if called upon. Rick, how about the fact that Martinez was stretched out spring training up until that final week? He was a starter and giving you 6-7 innings, 1 start, to where now you can feel comfortable giving him multiple innings as a reliever. There's a diving stop by Adams, gets up and steps on the bag.
And Adams handles that first base job very well.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. But multiple innings for Carlos Martinez.
Well, he's ready to do any job that is needed, and I think the feeling out of spring training is the biggest need was an 8th inning pitcher, somebody who could pitch late, but he was stretched out to be a starter and really earned that spot as much as Joe Kelly did. I mean, they both of them pitched well in spring training, but really I would say especially Carlos Martinez. But I think the biggest need was the 8th inning. But he can do many things.
1 ball, 1 strike. Brandon Phillips has sacrificed. That was in the first. Grounded into a double play and also popped out to second. Boy, that is just nasty stuff, huh? That slider. Swung on and missed.
Oh, my.
The bottom dropped out of that.
It sure did.
Reminder that game 2 of this series will be on Fox Sports 1 tomorrow night. Cincinnati, St. Louis, game 2, Fox Sports 1. Looks like that'll be it for Carlos Martinez. Again, very effective. He strikes out 2. The Cardinals will turn to Kevin Segrist, the lefty. You got one guy that throws 98 to 100. Here comes one that throws 96 to 98. He's happy with his catcher as well. Top of the 8th at Busch Stadium. The home opener as Kevin Segras takes over for the Cardinals. Tough lefty out of the pen.
Glad the rain is held off here this afternoon. We had some rain in the early going, but the Cardinals jumped out on top with 3 in that first inning, and now the bullpen trying to save it for Michael Wacha. Segras, our Chevy call to the pen. Just outstanding a year ago.
Well, Votto and Bruce, they know that this matchup at some point is going to happen in this series. Votto 0 for 6 for strikeouts. Bruce is 1 for 6 with a strikeout. There's a breaking ball and a good one. By the way, Segras has not been scored upon at Busch Stadium ever.
That's a pretty good stat.
20 2/3, 24 appearances. Here's a 1-2 pitch. What is it about him, Rick, that's made him so good?
I like his over-the-top delivery with his fastball. I think he's very downhill. He's a tall guy and throws a lot of strikes, but he has a good breaking pitch too that he can mix in, and again, could be a starter someday.
How about that? The pick by Carpenter. Wow! What a play by the Cardinal third baseman, Matt Carpenter. Is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Fun afternoon of baseball at Ballpark Village and over here at Busch Stadium. The Nissan drive of the game came early on. You may have been at work and you missed out. Well, this is what happened. Bases loaded, and Yadi Rick Horton came through.
Turned on a fastball from Cingrani, the left-handed starter for Cincinnati. After having 2 fastballs thrown past him, he jumped on that third one, and that's really the big hit in this game, and it did indeed come early.
Michael Wacha very good here today. Cingrani, the red starter, only 4 innings of work as Colton Wong looks at a ball. And you wonder about the residual effect of having to go to this pen after game 1 and using as much as he's had to. Brian Price here in the opener of this series. Colton Wong is fly to center, reached on an error, and then intentionally walked back in the 6th. Michael Wacha now 4 games against Cincinnati. 22 2/3, 1 run. Big gap in right center, a 2-1 pitch.
Trevor Rosenthal throwing for the Cardinals in their bullpen. He did not get any work in the Pittsburgh series.
Up the middle, base hit for Wong, and it's off the bag. He's on base for the 3rd time.
Breaks an 0 for 9 for Colton Wong. Good hitters drive the ball up the middle. Exactly what he does. That pitch is down in the zone, too. He goes and gets it. Nice swing.
Here's Daniel Descalso. Valuable role player for Mike Matheny's club. They lead it 5-1. Wong is running. Throw down to second is high, and a stolen base for Colton Wong. Certainly love to see that, don't you?
It's one of the tools he brings to the table is not just the good bat and the smooth fielding around the bag, but he has good instinct in stealing bases. He's fast, but he's, I think, even better in terms of his instinct on when to get a good jump. A year ago, just thrown out one time, and we saw him run a lot in spring training, and that's part of his game.
Pitch was a ball to Descalso.
We may see that a lot during the year. Think about a situation where you've got a pitcher at the plate. Let's say Wong's hitting 8th, which he'll do sometimes. He gets aboard to lead off an inning. Instead of bunting him over, let him steal it. Then
give him a chance.
Then you can bunt him to 3rd. Now you've got Matt Carpenter at the plate with 1 out and a runner at 3rd base, and you just so much more you can do. Why give up an out? That's what speed can do for you. Giving you all kinds of views today.
Here's a 1-2. Pulled foul. I think if they can get Borges on a consistent basis, the green light is essentially there. With Wong, maybe a little different scenario, being a rookie and how they want to dictate where he's at in the lineup and if he does run. A lot of that is predicated on who's hitting behind you. Don't want to run yourself out of an inning. But if he's down in the order, why not?
You would hope, even though Wong is young, and I would suspect by being around him, and you probably would agree with this, you'd assume that he's got enough of a baseball IQ that he's going to know when not to run. Just because he's a rookie, he's going to understand who's hitting behind him. He knows the score. He understands the game well enough to maybe even be trusted with that. I mean, I would. If you're a base stealer, he's had those situations in the minor leagues.
Out of play, it stays 2-2.
You know, the first time you get thrown out stealing and you take the bat out of the hands of your best hitter with the game on the line, and your manager tells you, hey, look at the scoreboard, think about it. I mean, you learn. That's how you learn. And for somebody that's stolen a lot of bases in his life, I'm sure he's learned those lessons.
Good at bat here by Daniel Descalso. Much of this big crowd is stuck around. Over 47,000. Rainy, cool day here in the Gateway City. 47,492. The 3-2 pitch to Descalso. Slicing in the gap in left center, but the catch is made. Never know what you're going to get on those home openers.
Yeah, this is the 8-2 record you were talking about earlier that the Cardinals had from '96 to 2006, where they scored 6.5 runs. But since 2007, it's been a bit of a different story. Cardinals just 1-6 in their home openers. The offense hasn't been as good, and we remember the home opener with the 9-run ninth. I believe that was last year. Was that the year before? A 9-run ninth that was
last
painful.
year with Mitchell Boggs.
It was painful.
Yep. So 1 out, runner at second. As Descalso could not advance long, but it is an RBI opportunity here for Matt Carpenter. And Carpenter has been on base a couple of times with a single and a run scored back in the first, and he walked in the second. He's also struck out and grounded out.
Have really enjoyed all of our remote camera views here today from just a lot of different spots in the ballpark, and you know that's part of this experience, Dan, is just taking in the joy of being at the ballpark again. It's opening day. Yes, we're celebrating, but we're getting to do what we like to do. Watch our favorite team play.
3-0. I wonder if anybody's going to stick around and go to Ballpark Village.
I bet they will. I know Pat Paris and Al Roboski will.
The 3-0 pitch and a walk to Carpenter. Knowing Al like we do, he'll be taking pictures and signing autographs. He loves it.
Well,
1 out walk to Carpenter.
Fans love that experience over there. They were just, you could tell every one of them just walking around, seeing the big screen there, and our pre and post game set is a part of that whole experience. And they just love to be on TV too, don't they?
Oh yeah. Kind of like you. Here's Peter Borges. Good cut, fouled back. Now tell me that Bob Force story just a little bit more, and the impression that he made on you on opening day. You mentioned that in our initial hit during the pregame show.
Well, I mean, the first part of that is really having almost a melancholy moment thinking about Bob and missing him not being here. He was actually a Cincinnati Red minor league coach. Walt Jocketty hired him, and Bob loved coaching. He was working with the low A guys. In fact, he told Walt Jocketty, reminded me the other day, we were talking about him in Cincinnati, and he said, you know, I wanted to have him move up levels. And he said, no, I want to work with the young guys. That's fun for me, and that's where I belong. And, you know, Bob was just such a heart and soul guy of what it means to be a Cardinal. And he reminded me on opening day, my first opening day, that you know, the fans are wonderful here, but you got to make sure you maintain your focus on what your job is, and, you know, enjoy it, but don't get too wrapped up in it.
And he loved the fans, didn't he?
How can you not?
Here's the 0-2. And Borges is swinging a miss. Peter, a 2-hit day, also a pair of strikeouts, but 2 runs scored.
Borges does not walk a lot. He'll chase every once in a while, and he chases there that breaking pitch low in the zone. But he's had a good afternoon here, a couple of hits.
Here is Holiday. RBI double in the 7th. 2 walks, 2 runs scored. Matt, 34 years old, and you look at how he keeps himself in shape. There's not many guys his age walking around looking like that. I mean, he is in tremendous condition. Still has great bat speed, one of the top hitters in the game.
I love the way he drives through a baseball. I think that's really his distinguishing characteristic. He's got the big forearms we talked about, very strong. I mean, I would say the strongest Cardinal. But it's not just making contact. When he makes contact, he's not done yet. He drives through the ball, finishes in a way very few players have done that I've seen.
Three and 0 the count. Our next telecast on Fox Sports Midwest will be on Wednesday. Game will be seen on Fox Sports 1 tomorrow night. On 3 and 0. Holiday trying to park one. And Votto with room. So we move to the 9th. Cardinals on top 5-1 in the home opener. A 5-1 lead for St. Louis, and Trevor Rosenthal, the hard-throwing right-hander, coming in, and it's our Chevy call to the pen.
Off to a good start in 2014. Rosenthal did not pitch, as we mentioned, in Pittsburgh, so getting some work here and some important work pitching that 9th inning just because you've got a 4-run lead. This game not over yet. But interesting that Kevin Segrist did not stay in the game to at least pitch to Jay Bruce.
You and I were discussing how we would manage this game because we never make mistakes up here.
Oh, really?
If I manage, I may go 0 for the year. And if I was the GM, I'd say over budget by about $100 million.
I bet you would. I'll take him.
Bruce trying to butt his way on. Well, you're down 4 runs and you need base runners, and shift is on. He's trying to drop down a bunt. Bruce has struck out twice and also grounded out.
Bruce did that a year ago quite a bit with Cincinnati against the shift, and his idea is, look, if you're going to give me first base, I'll take it. And Carpenter has moved a little bit more towards the third base bag, and at least respecting that possibility now. And game situation now, the home run really doesn't do much for you for Jay Bruce, so you're negating that a little bit by putting the bunt down, but that really isn't what you need. You need, as you mentioned, base runners, and a bunch of them.
You know, Derek Lilliquist gave pitcher, you see here, Trevor Rosenthal, an outstanding compliment. He said, this guy, you know, everybody was talking about Matt Harvey a year ago and his electric stuff. He said Trevor Rosenthal is right there, if not better. And he's talking about fastball, curveball, changeup. That
was pretty good company he put him in.
Whoa. Matt Harvey was one of the best that we saw a year ago. It's unfortunate now he's on the DL.
Mets have also lost their closer.
A leadoff walk. Let's turn to our Budweiser player of the game. Happened early on with one swing of the bat. Yadier Molina, a 3-run double. Out to left with the bases loaded. That cleared him, and the Cardinals have never looked back. Also caught a base stealer, Brian Pena, which surprised everybody in the ballpark. So leadoff walk. And the surprise was the fact that he was running, not that he caught him. So Molina out to visit with Rosenthal. You a little surprised to see Trevor in this game?
No, only because he needs to pitch and didn't get a chance to because of the way the game's unfolded, as we mentioned in Pittsburgh. But you know, you'd like to have him have an uneventful ninth inning, obviously, and the concern about using your closer in this kind of situation is what does it mean for the next day. And I think as long as he stays under 16, 17 pitches, he'll be okay. But he's off with his command right now. He's missing with his fastball and in danger of walking back-to-back hitters here to start the ninth inning.
2-0 the count on Ryan Ludwig. 3-0. When you know he's not right if he's up in the zone, because he lives below the knees usually. Ooh, and he may have gotten a gift.
As Derek Lilliquist told us, he commands the bottom part of the zone, and that's, I think, a good way to say it. And he commands the bottom part of the zone plus some there.
Here's a 3-1, and he walked him. So back-to-back walks. He walked 2 guys in 1 inning only twice last year. And this is Mike Matheny, not Derek Lilliquist, to go visit.
Trevor doesn't seem to be too agitated here, and they're trying to lighten him up a little bit. Here's his delivery, the power of the lower half, pushing off, driving to the plate. That is a power delivery.
Here is Todd Frazier, 5-1 St. Louis. Runners at first and second, nobody out. There it is. Fastball and a strike at 95 from Rosenthal. There was a game at the end of spring that Trevor was in, and he kept on looking back at the mound. He was struggling.
Yeah, I remember that
Remember
game.
finding his landing area, and he's been doing that a little bit in this ball game here today. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, when you start thinking about those things, and maybe that's what Mike Matheny was trying to get him off of, whatever it is was kind of agitating him. You know, Mike loves to talk about distractions and trying to avoid distractions for his players. Well, that can be one.
Up the middle, that's a base hit. Hold the runner at third, and the bases will be loaded and nobody out, and all of a sudden the tying run comes to the plate.
He's trying to get that fastball in the middle of the plate to get a strike, and that's the problem with that. The Reds hitters can start teeing off on it if you're just kind of laying it in there, and of course he's laying it in there at 95. But he needs to get ahead of hitters.
If there was ever a time for Cozart to break out, this would be it. Hitless this season, hitless today with a double play. Flied out to right, grounded out to short. Base is loaded. He represents the tying run. 1 ball, 1 strike. Little flare. Shallow right center. That drops in for a hit, and a run will score. This makes it 5-2. Bases loaded. Still nobody out.
Getting a little dicey right now, Dan.
Oh, I would say.
That's down in the zone. Off the end of the bat for Cozart. And the way this guy's swinging the bat right now, it's more than dicey.
Pena is 3 for 3. A changeup in the dirt. No activity in the Cardinals bullpen, and as I say that, bullpen phone rings and they start to scatter to get loose. Boy, this is the last thing you thought about heading into the ninth. Bases loaded, nobody out. 1 ball, no strikes.
The 2 Cardinal runs in the 7th inning loom very large now.
One and two. Four-hit game happened in 2012. Got him. A changeup, a strikeout for Rosenthal. There's one away.
Hopefully that will get Trevor back on track again, and it's a power changeup, and way out front is Pena. He read fastball, and even though that pitch is 88 miles an hour, he was out in front. The action in the Cardinal bullpen is Randy Choate and Seth Maness.
Neftali Soto, a pinch hitter, to face Rosenthal.
Again, Trevor looked back down at his feet a little bit after that delivery, like he just didn't land comfortably.
1-2. Left field. Runner will tag up, score to make it 5-3. 2 down. So with 2 outs, runners at first and second, Billy Hamilton, the final hope for Cincinnati.
We've seen that Hamilton has trouble with breaking pitches, Dan, but let's see how he does against the 96 to 98.
Hamilton with a double, then caught in a rundown in the first inning. Came up with 1 out, runners at first and third, popped out to short, grounded out to first twice. He's hitting .063. 1-0 pitch. This should do it. Borges wants it. He's got it. The Cardinals take the home opener. A final of 5-3. Rosenthal made it interesting here in the 9th.
And again, the 2 Cardinal runs in the 7th inning loom large. Rosenthal finally comes up with a pitch to get out of that 9th inning. But Michael Wacha really the story again here today. 6 solid innings, just 1 run. What a special talent he is. Yadier Molina picking up the big hit in that first inning. And the Cardinals showing a little more offense today. They banged out 9 hits today and again beat a left-hander.
Tony Cingrani only gave the Reds 4 innings here today, and you wonder about how that will carry over with the fact that they had to use their bullpen an awful lot in games 2 and 3. Peter Borges